We've been talking about the 3 stages of the spiritual journey, and recently we've been talking about the struggle stage that leads to a higher level of awareness. Elizabeth Roberts calls this stage the threshold stage because it gets its name from the threshing floor. Threshing floors are part of granaries. When grain is harvested, it's brought in for processing. And the old way of processing is that they would throw it up in the air and let the wind blow out everything that wasn't necessary until all that remained was the kernel that held the potential for new life. This kernel that holds the potential for new life is an example of our true, authentic self, who we really were created to be. The Ugly Duckling is a story about a duckling that finds his true self. This duckling was born into a pond, and all the other ducklings would make fun of him and jeer and say, "You are such an ugly duckling." Their taunting grew so unbearable that finally he left his home to go and just get away from all of that taunting and to find a way to live in peace. He goes to another pond, and over the course of the winter grows and develops, and one day a swan looks at him and says, "Oh, you're such a handsome swan." And he goes, "I'm not a swan at all. I'm a duck." And the swan said, "You better look at your reflection in the pond. I think you're a swan." And he was. The reason that he was such an ugly duckling was he wasn't a duckling at all. He was really a swan inside. I often hear from clients that their diagnosis of MS challenges their belief about themselves, their belief about their identity. If somebody's an athlete and that's challenged, then who am I if I'm not an athlete? If I'm a pianist and I can no longer play, who am I if I'm not a pianist? We have to struggle with our identity and get a higher level of awareness about who we are. That means we have discernment about who our true self truly is. It's like we find the kernel that holds the potential for new life within ourselves. That means we're learning about ourselves and we're discerning about what we really think, what we really feel, and we act from that knowledge about our true self.